Hello and welcome to Hockey Talk. I'm Shawn Mullin, filling in for Dave Dustin this week, and it's a week of some good news finally in the hockey community as we're getting games played again in the Western Hockey League, and we've got the go-ahead for several other junior leagues, including the Alberta Junior Hockey League. And our guest today is Dustin Edwards, who's the Director of Sports and Entertainment with the Drumheller Dragons in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. And Dustin, it had to be absolutely music to your ears when the Alberta government gave you guys the go-ahead to start back on March 12th.
Yeah, we were excited, and it's been a long process to get to that point. A lot of obstacles, but a lot of people working hard behind the scenes, from our commissioner to the governors, just everybody. It was a team effort on all accounts, and with so many different stakeholders, communities, rec boards, you name it. Everybody had to be all in, billets, families, players. But it was so exciting to see it kind of come full circle, all the hard work, and get the approval to finally get back in the rink and get going.
I think it's important, too, as we discuss these return to play initiatives, to take a step back and understand how much this is the leagues and the teams putting themselves out there for the sake of the players. Because the revenue streams just aren't really there. You're not getting fans in the stands. You're not able to generate the kind of income you normally would. So from a business standpoint, it doesn't necessarily make sense. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would have to assume that the real urgency to make this happen was on behalf of your players. Is that the case in your mind?
It was absolutely. As you said, all revenue streams are essentially gone. A lot of teams, including ourselves, have been lucky that some sponsors were able to still contribute, and of course that money's in the coffers, but it goes away quickly when you're considering wages and cost to operate a team. So it absolutely fell on the players, and we had a lot of families and a lot of players that didn't even bat an eye when we said there's going to be private testing costs, there's going to be expenses for billeting that organizations just aren't able to cover. So they had to step up in a big way, and if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to continue on with this return to play plan. So they were instrumental in making it all happen because, as you said, the revenue streams are gone, and there's not a ticketed person allowed to be in the rinks during this return to play.
Was there much hesitancy, if at all, among your players and staff to throw themselves into the middle of this once the news came out?
Absolutely not. All the players, all the families, all the staff were just 100% green light, and at whatever cost and whatever it takes to make it happen. There's scholarships on the line. There's development on the line. There's just so much at stake, long-term and short-term, for the team and the players, that everybody was 100% all in to make it work.
So what was it like for them to get back on the ice that first time, see the players back, come back together after all these months? I mean, it must have been emotional and at the same time, a giant sigh of relief to some degree.
It was, and it was a bit of a journey before they could even get on the ice. So, when it started sounding like we were going to get the approval, all the players, all the staff had to go into isolation for 7 days. And that was even before we knew that the return to play was going to happen. So it was a precautionary step. So everybody went in isolation. Once we got the approval, they finished their isolation at home. Then we had to get the players into the community. So we had to get them in here. We had to run private testing, set it up at a separate location, private tests, then get the players in with their billets, where they had to isolate in their billet homes and in the community for another 7 days. We had to await testing results to come back from the private testing before we could get on the ice. So our players actually got on the ice for the first time on Thursday. Was their first skate. So they've been anxiously awaiting to get back in the room and get on the ice. And it was a long time coming, but once on the ice, you could tell they were excited. So they've now skated twice since getting back to Drumheller, and lots of work to do in a short amount of time to kind of knock the rust off and get everybody back into game shape and in game mode.
You aren't kidding. And for those who aren't aware, because not everyone who's watching this is going to understand, and every league is doing things differently, how's it working in the Alberta Junior Hockey League? How are you guys managing to play? What are the arrangements and steps you're taking at this point?
So right now, all the teams are playing in cohort. So we're in a 3-team cohort. There's a couple teams that will start in 2-team cohorts. That will change after Easter weekend. We'll kind of reset, regroup, and be put with other teams. But it's no fans. We have our players and staff in a little bit of an isolation bubble. So billet homes to the rink in our facility, in our dressing room area. Besides that, everybody's kind of off limits. No fans allowed in. And then the private testing weekly. So the league's got the services of Dynalife to look after all the testing. So we have a player lounge area, a clubhouse area that we do the testing in. Those tests are shipped away. Those results go to the league. So they're monitoring that weekly. The billets and the players have daily symptom check-ins on an app that they have to look after. So even the billet families are forced to continue to check in, I guess, on the COVID side of things. But yeah, from there it's bubble hockey in our cohort essentially, and we're still able to travel, still be on the bus, but yeah, it's very very limited on who's in the rink and who's able to attend the games.
How grateful are you that the Billet family still stepped up and supported you in this scenario? That's what hockey families tend to be like, but at the same time, these are unheard of circumstances. So you had to wonder what the reaction was going to be, and to have that kind of overwhelming support must be really gratifying.
Oh, it is. I mean, without the billets, on a normal year, you have no success as a junior hockey franchise. They are truly the backbone. What the little they get to house a Dragons or any junior hockey player, it hardly covers. It doesn't cover food for what these growing young men are consuming. But they're such a big part of what we do. They're truly the fabric, and without them being able to take this on and look after doing the check-ins every day and making sure the players are safe and in their environment, it's so important. So, to have the billets all say, yeah, we're 100% in, was huge for us. And they put themselves at risk as well. I mean, they're bringing someone else into their home and making them part of their kind of fabric, and they know that they're in the rink and traveling. So there's absolute risk there for their families as well. So it was vital to have them on board. But we've got such a great billet group here in Drumheller, and I know I can speak probably on behalf of all the teams that would say the exact same thing. So super lucky, and yeah, we couldn't do it without them.
From a hockey standpoint, you're going months between games, and you really only just started. I mean, it's a joke where you could say it's March and there are 6 teams who haven't won a game yet in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. But that's the reality when no team's played more than 3 times. So you just get started, you get ripped away from the rink. I know there was some practicing for a while. I mean, how do you approach restart here? Because really it's almost starting all over again, and you have to kind of throw out everything you've done to this point.
Yeah, that's true. And it was preparation, and our coaching staff is all about preparation. So all the steps that we can take off the ice, they worked so hard over these last couple of months. It wasn't like, okay, guys, send you home and see you when you get back. The lines of communication between the staff and the players. Our head coach, Kevin Hasselberg, is one of the most hardest working coaches I've ever been around. So preparation and commitment to what we're doing off the ice is going to enable the return on the ice to be that much better and more prepared. So, and truthfully, it's on the players as well. They had to make sure that they were following nutrition and trying to stay in shape as best they could. And guys were on outdoor rinks and just doing anything they could to be ahead of it. But the good news is we're all in the same boat, so nobody really has an advantage. And just the off ice preparation and the meetings, the Skype, just staying in touch and ensuring the systems and everything's kind of ready to go when they got here was vital. So I really got to credit our coaching staff for the work they did to prepare the guys for when they got back here.
Were you able, in talking to them and talking to the players, getting a sense of it, were you able to keep some kind of spirit of togetherness while separated by this, through video, through conferences, phone, texting, so that it didn't seem like you were cut off from each other? Like there's still that team bond that was kept in place?
Absolutely. And, it's Skypes, it's group texts, it's communication. And I think that was something that was really important that, we recognized early on is communication is going to be key just to keep everybody engaged, players, staff, billets, you name it. So I think that's one thing we really, really focused on was just making sure everybody was engaged, communication, and things change very quickly. As you're awaiting news and different regulations and what was allowed, what wasn't, and even this return to play process. So, yeah, communication was key. The players' group texts are important, and not even just for preparation, but just for that sense of team. We had a lot of new players this year, and a lot of these guys have never even been on a road trip together. That was important. Absolutely.
Team wants to win any game they play. But I get a real sense in talking to junior teams, whether it's Western Hockey League, Junior A, that it's a different mentality going back into this. There's one, just an appreciation for being able to be on the ice and to get to play. And two, an extra sense of a developmental focus because of what was robbed from the players by the pandemic that way. Again, you want to win, but how much of the focus is more specifically tied to making sure the players can get something out of this year, and then also seeing what you have before things return to a more normal state, hopefully next season?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and that is going to be key. 24 games, it's not a lot, and that's what we're shooting for a complete schedule here. So, the guys are only on in their own rink 12 times until the end of May. So it is important, and it's kind of twofold. You've got your players who are, the 20-year-olds that are looking for potential scholarships if they haven't secured them yet. And I look at these past two seasons where, we probably earned 5 to 8 of our scholarships in March or the end of February for 19 and 20-year-old players. And so the guys that are in that position this year, they haven't been exposed to scouts. So ensuring that, they're getting opportunity to be seen, given their best chance at showcasing what they can do for schools and their next step in the hockey journey. And then for those players, 17, 18-year-olds who next year are going to be 19-year-olds who have only played a handful of games at the junior A level. So ensuring that they're developed the right way, understanding what it takes to play at this level, different coaching systems, you name it. So it's very important to ensure that we're checking all the boxes for all of them and that nobody's left behind in that process.
You managed the business operations for the team for a number of years, and I'd have to think there are no businesses more affected by the COVID pandemic than, live entertainment, and sports would certainly qualify as one of those. Everything about your operations is tied to the one thing you can't do. So it's a very minimal way of saying this, but how enormous a challenge has that been? And what has been your approach to trying to just survive through, the ultimate nightmare for any live sports team?
Yeah, it hit us hard when the COVID pandemic hit. We were one day away from starting round 2 of the playoffs, where we had pre-sold playoff ticket packages and fan buses to Brooks and you name it, and we had to hand all that money back. And that's junior hockey is a tough business landscape, and we like to say let's get through the regular season, and playoffs can sometimes put you in the black, and we were just about there when this hit. So it was especially tough in that respect. You had to get creative, and I know the word of the year has been pivot. So for us, we tried to find every opportunity we could, and we found it in youth hockey development in the area was one area we really worked hard in to leverage our staff and resources for sources of revenue. things like online fundraising, raffles, and then just being extremely transparent with sponsors and still trying to massage the ones that could still support us in some capacity and ensure that they got some sort of recognition and brand exposure with whatever we were doing, whether it be social media, at the start of the year, live broadcasts, whatever we could. So we really made sure that we had to be transparent with sponsors, let them know that it may not be the same landscape, whatever we could do to help them, to help us. And then, the online raffles and fundraising was an important part. But, where we really went all in was with hockey development for youth, which was something we were able to run a lot longer than we were able to run, junior A games in the fall and then in February as well.
In watching the development of junior hockey in the last 10 to 20 years, you're certainly seeing, whether it's junior A or major junior, staffs that used to be a coach, an assistant, maybe a trainer, and, a salesperson and business manager, if that, like these sort of bare bones operations that were run often on the strength of volunteers have expanded. The coaching staffs are larger, the offices are larger, there's video people, the technology element that's required. As you guys rebuild, is it going to be imperative for all of junior hockey to sort of say, we want to get back to as much of the operation as we can do as possible, but we also have to do this in baby steps to know that it's sustainable while we're rebuilding?
Yeah, that's key. And for us from a business standpoint, everything you do, you have to find a way to justify it financially. So, there's some teams that have very large staff, some teams that operate on smaller scale, and everything we do, we have to find a way to essentially to pay for that. So, we're super lucky. We have great ownership and great support. Population wise, we're the second smallest population for an AJHL team, so we don't have access to as many sponsors and community groups to support us. But I think as teams grow and the business expands, where do you want to put your effort in, and where do you get the best bang for your buck? So, when I alluded to earlier about the hockey development, that's something that we've really focused on, and not even hockey development, but sports opportunities in our community. We want to give a little bit of a rural advantage to this area around Drumheller, where they don't have to travel into the cities and larger centers to get elite sport development, whether it be with hockey, on ice, off ice training, and even baseball and things like that. So, that's something where we said, okay, if we can really, get that market and get that foundation set for development, okay, now that opens up another position that can also support hockey operations and business operations. So yeah, everything we do, and as we grow as an organization, we have to find a way to essentially make it work financially as well. But a lot of teams have done a great job of being able to do that, and essentially that's the only way you can make it work.
Well, and you brought up a point about being a smaller market and focusing on player development and recruitment, retention, that type of thing. The markets I broadcasted in were both those types of markets: Trail in the British Columbia Hockey League and Swift Current in the Western Hockey League. And often it was spoken of like a disadvantage that you're a small market. And, just hearing you talk about it and my own experience in it, I think sometimes that's a misnomer. Because if I'm a parent, which I am now, and I'm thinking of where would I want my kid to go? Would I want them to go to a big center where they could get lost and there's a million things to do and, easier to find trouble, or to go somewhere like a Drumheller where their focus will be on hockey, they'll be around their teammates a whole lot more, and there's an opportunity to, they're going to be watched closely. It's tougher to get into, any kind of difficulty. I think from a focus on your development and your education standpoint, there's some real sales points for small markets, and they're a little bit safer too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we really have to get across to recruits and to families, when they look at Drumheller. And for us, if we can start developing them before they're even considered what we call a recruit, even better. If you draw a circle around Drumheller within 2 hours, we have access to a lot of great markets and great communities with good programs and great kids, and even some who are, so far rural that sometimes they struggle to get the exposure they need. And we can say, well, we can provide everything you can find in the big markets right here in Drumheller. And that's something we've really focused on, is we want to be able to provide all that right here. And when these kids come to town, there's a sense of celebrity when you're a junior A player in Drumheller. Anywhere you go, you're noticed. You get a lot more connection to the fans, to the sponsors. We have access to so many resources within the schools and our local community workout facilities, and have access to the arena, which the town has been so good to kind of make it our own. We're not just an ice rental from 7 to 8:30. We're the real fabric of the community, and for a young player, when they really recognize how important that is and how fun that can be, and how much you can leverage all these tools and resources for your own development, it's a no-brainer oftentimes. And so for us, it's been really showcasing that to potential players, and it's helped. You go back 10 years ago when you're losing out on some of the top end recruits looking for a junior place to play, and when you start landing 2 out of 10 before you're getting maybe 0 out of 10, it really speaks to the work that we've done.
No question. And that's exactly the approach I think you have to have in a market like that. And oftentimes allows for the players to feel even more connected to their community in the long term. Now, you are in a unique position, and sure, one that you like normally, but maybe not in the last year and a half, to have both of your professional elements of your career tied to live sports. You're also a professional rodeo announcer and producer. So personally, I'm sure the last year and a half last year has been as challenging for you as for many people out there. But at the same time, being tied to another live sports operation that's going through similar types of challenges right now, has it allowed you to have some unique perspective in the challenges you face with the Drumheller, and some of the communication you can do with the people you work with on that side of things that can come back to the table for what you're doing with the hockey team?
Yeah, absolutely. It's as you said, live events are live events, and the success of my career with Drumheller and then in the rodeo and bull riding side of things, it's about fans, communities, sponsors, and all these stakeholders who are, I guess, at risk of their livelihoods, event producers, everyone who's part of it. So it's been, I feel like, very similar battles, just talking to different people. But I hope that my experience with how we've been able to survive this and some of the things I've learned on the hockey side can help me when we start coming back on the rodeo side, because that's an industry, with the exception of professional bull riding, who did a few televised events, is going to be the next group of people and committees that start trying to bring their events back to life. I really hope that anything I've learned in this can, kind of parlay into that. So, yeah, on a personal standpoint, it's been a very trying year as both my worlds have kind of come crumbling down. But great leadership is what's going to get any group through this. And I've been lucky on the hockey side from our ownership standpoint, our management team, and even our commissioners and group at the AJHL have done such a great job of leading us, that I hope I can take something from that and guide it into the rodeo and bull riding side of things as well when we get to return.
How much have you missed the feel of a live crowd? I mean, that's everything you do. So to not have one this long has got to feel like major withdrawal.
It has been, and I remember I remember my very last event before we were shut down. We did a bull riding in February, and the place was completely sold out, completely full, and that feeling, haven't felt it for a year or more, and I miss that, and I miss the you know I think of the nights when I was in the business role, when you have a crowd that's a little lower, in an AJHL rink, and when your job is to bring people in and sell tickets and provide a game night experience, those nights where you're like, oh, geez, we only had 700 people, and I was so hard on myself and thinking, Section E looks really thin tonight. You take it on yourself, and man, what I wouldn't give to have Section E only have a few hundred people in it right now. I really take for granted the crowds we did get, and the fans that we did get through the door and provide a night out. So I miss it dearly. I can't wait till we're back in safely. And yeah, I can't wait. I think about it every day when I can, hear the roar of a crowd from a bull ride or a goal at home with the horn going off. So,
but I wonder if there's going to be an element of, yes, there'll be some people who are a little anxious once the green light is given to go back into crowd situations. But I think for a lot of us, maybe we'll feel like, we took the ability to have these kind of community gatherings somewhat for granted, and we're going to be extra excited to have the ability to do that, whether it's live sports, whether it's live music, personal gatherings, just to be able, you think of a live sports event, we focus often on the sports, we focus often on the entertainment. In a community like yours and in a community like mine, it's also a social gathering where Friday night at the rink is getting together and BSing with a friend you haven't seen for a couple of weeks. And I think for all of us, when we finally get to do that again, we're almost forgetting what that experience is like now. And hopefully there'll be an extra level of enthusiasm when we get that opportunity, realizing what we've missed and how much we've missed it.
Absolutely. And Drumheller is a perfect example. We're not in a big center, like a Calgary, where you can watch a pro lacrosse game or a Western League game, a junior game, a Flames game, football, you name it. You have so many options. In Drumheller, we are kind of the only ticket in town on a weekend. So it's kind of twofold for those people that come every game. They never miss a game. They're craving it, and they truly miss it. And one thing I really hope it does, and not a knock, but those people that maybe on a Friday night when they say, you know what, it's a little chilly, I don't want to start the truck for 10 minutes and I'm comfortable on the couch. I really hope that, we get that group of people that says, you know what, we're so blessed to be able to have a hockey game again. We were on the brink of potentially losing these teams. I hope that they're able to come out and support it as well in all markets once we're able to do so. I really hope that it draws some attention and appreciation for these teams and these communities, that people say, let's go out today, let's go to the game, because it may not be here someday, as we just experienced for the last year.
On the ice, which we haven't got a chance to talk nearly enough about these days, so we'll briefly touch on that. From a Drumheller standpoint, what are some things you're excited about seeing in this 24-game stretch? Players you're excited to see, or elements of your roster you're looking forward to from a hockey perspective as we get to drop the puck again?
Well, I mean, it's very much going to mirror image opening night. When you've worked so hard to assemble a roster, this feels like opening your Christmas presents in February. Our team, our coaching staff, our scouts work so hard to put these rosters together, and we barely got a glimpse of what this team's going to be. So we don't even know what our team's going to be. And all these players who we were so excited about, high-end recruits, pieces that we added in to make us better, we truly haven't got to see what they're going to do. So we're really excited to finally see what this group of players is going to be able to accomplish on the ice. And then, in these cohorts, you think, we're only going to see the same two teams. For us, it's Camrose and Olds to start. But it's got that playoff sense to it as well. So, the rivalries are going to start early. It's going to be nobody, I know it's about development and getting back on the ice, but we don't like to lose to Olds. They're an old rival. We don't like to lose to Camrose. And that's going to be the story throughout the next few weeks is there's still rivalries in the rink no matter what. But we really just are excited to see what our team is made of and where it's going to set us up for next year and the year after. We had a big rebuilding year. So we're just really excited to see what this team can do and have everybody back healthy and ready to go.
Well, I was going to say that last year you had a great record. You were 37, 18, 0-3 when things shut down. You're in the playoffs and really good. But this year, you look at the roster that started back when you briefly were able to play in the fall. There were 16 players who are 2002 birth years or younger on that roster, which indicates a whole ton of youth and a whole ton of turnover, and that'll only be amplified more when you're coming back in a situation like this. So is this truly a rebuilding stage for Drumheller, and how important then is this next 24 games in setting the table for what your culture is, for the way you play the game, and for making sure these guys are prepared next year, because they missed out on what was supposed to be a developmental year?
Absolutely. And yeah, it absolutely was a rebuilding year, and it's a double-edged sword. We graduated all of our 20s, all with post-secondary scholarships, which was a huge achievement for us. And then we lost a couple of our 19-year-olds who would have been 20s this year to NCAA scholarships a year early, which is outstanding. That's our goal, is to get these guys to school. So that was important for us. And then one of our 20-year-olds we were going to lean on, of course, because the border was closed, didn't get up in time. So, yeah, we had a lot of holes to fill, but that provides opportunity. Now, all of a sudden, you have a crop of these young players that are going to play together for the next 3 years. So it's very important to keep them together, establish that culture now as they are the next wave of what our future is going to be. So it's super important. However, you all of a sudden become an 18-year-old in your first year of junior hockey who could have played 60 games. Now you're going to become a 19-year-old with only maybe 20 games of experience at this level. So there's going to be a little bit of growing pains, but we feel that we've got the right crop of players that'll be together for these next couple of seasons that will get us back to that level that we've been accustomed to the last 2 years as one of the top teams in the South and having a very solid record, 30 plus wins the last couple of years. So.
Absolutely. You mentioned a player moving on early. You look at a guy like Eric Martin getting a chance to play in the NCAA after a fantastic 19-year-old season. That's going to be really exciting for you guys as a group.
It is, absolutely. And, there's a player that came in his first season, and if I remember correctly, he didn't even score a goal until the end of November in his first year. And you just knew that he was a player that once he struck, he was off. He worked so hard off the ice. His commitment off the ice was like no other player I've seen. And you knew that when he got that scholarship that he wasn't going to be around long. So had an unbelievable season. Would you love to have him as a 20-year-old? Absolutely. But just so excited to see him. And, he started as a fourth line player in and out of the lineup at the start of his college season this year. And he's already worked himself into a role, playing every night at Bemidji State, playing on the third line, getting great opportunities. So that's what we want to do, is develop those players to go to that next level. And he's a prime example of a person who puts in the work and gets rewarded.
From a personal standpoint, just looking at your background and from where I come from, I see you went to radio college. You were a radio guy. You've done some play-by-play and some sports reporting and whatnot. Does that influence the way you do things from a financial business standpoint? Coming from the reporting side, the media side, does that influence your approach to marketing?
Well, I think it's been nice for me to have some different backgrounds into this, as you kind of get an appreciation for different areas and of the, I guess, business of hockey. how you view things as a broadcaster and the inner workings of a team. When you get on the other side of it, my eyes were also open to things that maybe I wasn't aware of before, or a little naive of things. So, I've been lucky to be a broadcaster, heck, a fan, a player, uh, you know, different avenues, and to be able to bring that all together has really helped me get a different appreciation and understanding. Um, I think from the marketing standpoint and broadcast standpoint, a big part of what we do is how we share our story. How we let fans in on social media, reporting. So having that broadcast experience has said, okay, how do we want to tell the story? How do we want to share what we do? What is it like to be a Drumheller Dragon? The inner workings, be a fan. Uh, I think that's really helped in how we share that story, and some, of course, business opportunities with it as well that we've been able to leverage. So.
You mentioned working together closely with the coaching staff, and your head coach Kevin Hasselberg not only has his experience with Drumheller and some pro experience, he also spent 5 years as a head coach and GM in the Saskatchewan Hockey League with the Battleford North Stars. So how much have you been able to learn from him? Because when you're a junior A head coach, your focus may be hockey, but you're always going to be drawn into the business side of things too. So you guys work together pretty closely, and what's that experience been like for you?
Yeah, Kevin's just not only a great coach and GM, but an outstanding human as well. And he puts in so much work. He lives and breathes the Drumheller Dragons. He's so passionate, and he doesn't do it in a selfish way at all. His goal is the players, making sure that they get developed. He spends hours sending clips of players to schools and scouts. Everything he does at the highest level, puts in the time, puts in the hours, and has created a culture here that's so important. And we've been so lucky to work so closely, because I know that the success of the team uh, will ultimately impact the success on the business side, and the business side will impact the success of the team. So we have to work hand in hand, and create this culture on and off the ice that supports each of our initiatives in our areas. And how we sell the team to the fans and the community is noticed by prospective players and their families, and helping in their decision to be here. And so it's so twofold, and the players are such a big part of the community, and ensuring that we juggle their time with studies and on the ice with our community involvement as well is very important. So uh, we're so lucky to have such a great team here. In junior hockey, some organizations you get a lot of turnover, as it can be a stepping stone. In my 3 seasons here, our staff has remained the same, with our trainer Rebecca, our assistant coach Kenton, and Kevin and myself. And now we've added to our business team with a former Dragon this past week. So we've all been together the last 3 years, and we've been able to see success on and off the ice as a group. And we've all done it together, working together along the way.
You also spoke of your ownership, and you have a circumstance, I imagine, a positive one, where one of your main owners, Cam Christensen, is an alum of a former Drumheller team, and has a very significant background operating the Canalta hotels. So again, it's a different business, but certainly one that would include a significant marketing promotional element and a customer service element. How closely do you work with him, and how much of a resource has he been for you in the development of the business operations for you guys?
Yeah, Cam and the Christensen family, they're the reason this team has survived in Drumheller. They're the reason the team is here. They're passionate about the sport, but more importantly, they're just passionate about being able to provide this entertainment, this opportunity for the community itself. When the years when the financial side has struggled, they're right there to pick the team back up and keep it going. Cam is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to business. Their success has been just unbelievable with what they've been able to accomplish, but they keep the family aspect of it. Cam's son Blair is our chairman, and he is really involved with the day-to-day operations the most. And I've been able to learn so much from them. And they don't even feel like owners. They just feel like we're all partners in this journey together. But how they support the team financially, with resources, and just sitting around spitballing ideas, over dinner, in the office, at the rink, they're there sitting there watching games and cheering them on. And now Cam's grandson's in our junior Dragons programs, and they're extremely involved in such great resources, and just so awesome to be a part of the team under them. And it truly is a family all the way through.
I know I've gone pretty long with you, but I wanted to touch quickly on one last thing. It is, again, a unique circumstance playing without the opportunity to have fans in the stands. So, and you can only do so much, again, without revenue streams. But what are your, I guess, plans or goals in terms of being able to keep your fans in the loop as this goes along, so they can still feel like they're part of it, although from a distance?
Yeah, for us, we're putting that strategy together right now, and of course, telling our story. We want fans to feel like they're still part of the journey. So social media will never be more important now. Through video, through pictures, just keeping everybody updated. We'll have radio broadcasts that will be important. It'll feel like the old school days of sitting around the radio listening to Peter Marr doing Flames games for me. That'll be important. We're doing a cutout campaign where we've already sold a ton of cutouts, so the faces will still be in the rink, and season ticket holders are already wanting their spot with their face up. And heck, we even had someone send a picture of their pet that they're popping in their seat beside them. So yeah, just telling our story. We're going to be looking at some viewing parties in some of Canalta's restaurants here in town. Still getting the players safely, being able to be visible in the community in certain aspects. But yeah, just really telling the story. We're really going to amp up the social aspect of it and just make sure that everybody still feels part of the journey.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, Dustin. And I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say I'm thrilled that the players get to be back on the ice, but I'm even more excited about the possibility of seeing fans in the stands again for both hockey games and for rodeo and bull riding events. And I'm sure that's top of mind for you as well. So thanks for taking the time to talk about what's been a challenging year, but also the optimism that's coming ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much, Shawn. I appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to kind of tell our story here in this journey. It's been fun, and I appreciate it.
That's Dustin Edwards, who is with the Drumheller Dragons as the Director of Sports and Entertainment. The Alberta Junior Hockey League back in action as of March 12th. We're all very excited to see the players back on the ice and the pucks drop again, but we'll be even more excited when the fans are back in the stands. I'm Shawn Mullin for AJHL Live's Hockey Talk. Have a great day.